So there's a couple of questions that I want to get to in the on the event page from people that couldn't make it, but basically I just wanted to touch base with you guys and see how you guys are doing and if you need help and answer any questions you have and just kind of have a little back and forth dialogue with you. So what would you guys like to discuss? How are you doing? Where are you at?
Well,
Don't everybody go at once.
yeah, nobody's speaking up. I'll go. I just finished my level 17. I published a book, and as part of my project there, well, actually I had to make the book, but I published it to take it just one step further. So I'm waiting for my copy to arrive, and I just got my assignment from Rodney what to do to help him out in the cohort. So that's where I'm at. So I'm about to leave on a month-long trip, but I'll have internet and stuff like that in between. Probably next Sunday if everything goes right. So I'll be going up to Washington. So have regular internet and all of that when I'm there. So should be in good shape.
Sounds good. How about the rest of you guys? How are you doing? Hi, Lisa.
Hey, how's it going, Jess?
Good. How's it going for you?
Good. Busy, but good.
How's the path? Where are you at? What are you doing?
I'm trying to write my Meet the Master video, and I'm stressing over it big time, but I think I may have had a breakthrough today, so we'll see.
Okay. The Meet the Master video, I'm getting a lot of I don't want to say negative feedback, but maybe anxious is a better terminology. Everybody seems to be stressing over that a little bit. Does anybody want to tell me why?
I thought it was pretty tough to do. I mean, I spent a lot of time on mine, and I guess, you know, making sure I try to, as much as I use the word like my number one goal was to never use the word in this entire video, you know, so I kept starting over. I'd go and I'm like, oh damn, I started all over and do it again. But yeah, I feel like it was definitely the most difficult of all of the requirements for this.
Okay. How about the rest of you? How are you feeling about your Meet the Masters?
Hello, by the way.
Hi, Monica.
Hi. Well, I have to say, if I can do a decent video, everybody can. So, because just months ago, I didn't know anything about video, so, and it was not easy, but anyway, I think if I can do it, anyone can. So that's my positive message for everyone. Because. But it's great to have, I think it's a great resource to have all the Meet the Master videos that are coming through on the path of the protege, because they're really great. And I think the ones that will come after that will have more, not only the videos, but also the feedback we're all giving and receiving. And I think that's great.
Okay. Well, I want you guys to keep in mind that it's great to want to do a really excellent job, but don't get caught up on little things like your crutch words. Mine's so. I say so a lot, and every now and then I bring out like a little bit of the Valley Girl and pull out like, and is kind of universal for everyone, but those make it sound more authentic and genuine and less rehearsed, because you don't want your Meet the Master to come off as a sales pitch. You want it to be a little bit of who you are, and for them to get a sense of you, because essentially what you're doing is dating, you know? It's like your first impression with like that person that you've been waiting to ask out for a while, and then you guys are going to get to this part where you're going to send the invites, and you all did this from the standpoint of Apprentices, where we send the invites and you have a week to respond, and some of you just make a girl wait and wait. Monica. You know, so you'll sit there and some of them will deny, and you'll be like, is it me? What did I do? They don't like me? Like, so take it with a grain of salt. All we're really looking for is a chance to kind of get to know who you are and what you're about, you know, and completion is better over perfection. And, you know, you don't have to be married to it. Like, there's nothing that says that you can't go back in the library at a later time and update your Meet the Master video to something new. So this is just to kind of really help you get in touch with who you are as an artist and as a master and what it is that you're bringing to the table, and help you solidify that for yourself. And I'm guessing that most of you have a much better idea of what it is that you're offering now that you really had to sit down and figure out how to sell somebody else on it, basically. But don't get too wrapped up in it. So that seems to be causing the most stress for people. Hi, Pamela. How are you? She's like, I'm at work. I can't talk.
No, I'm at home.
Okay.
I just have it muted because I have a few children home, and you know.
No, I understand. Mine will be home in a little while. So what else is causing you guys stress and strain besides the Meet the Master video? Or what do you feel that you need more one-on-one time with or help?
Well, I think it was Jennifer had mentioned, and I agree that I kind of look at you as like the wild card in the Vanguard whenever I get there, because I don't have a working relationship with you to this point. You know?
Yeah. You guys should be really, really scared.
I'm not scared. I just have to learn, you know. It's different, you know, because with all the critiques and working within our cohort, we are working with people that we have an established relationship with. And so it's just that difference.
Yeah, and it is, and we kind of designed it that way on purpose. Jen did bring that up. She has a couple of questions that I'm gonna touch base on in a second. But as far as what we're looking for, your housemaster, the person that you were studying with, was pretty much instructed, and we're clarifying this because we really just want the best of the best. That's it. Like, we don't want people that may be good enough to be masters and might be there someday. We're looking for the people that the Arcanum will be less in the absence of. That's what we want, and most of you are embodying that for us. So the housemaster is instructed to look for that from the beginning. They're looking for the people that are bright, for the people that are going above and beyond, that have outstanding portfolios, that are helping their apprentices for no other reason than you guys can't help yourselves in having to. You know, they recommend you for that reason. And then your advising master looks in on your portfolio and what you have to offer, and they're kind of keeping an eye of you going through all these steps, and they're check marking the boxes a little bit and going, yes, we think that they do critique well. Yes, we think that their tutorial videos are adding benefit to the library and that they have something worthy of saying. I am the wild card in that, honestly, I don't care about any of that. And to be quite honest, I don't look at half of your stuff until you get more than halfway through the path. One, because there are, you know, a ton of you and one of me, and I'm also running 3 different cohorts right now as well. So the apprentices get my priority. You guys are essential, but you're not urgent. And what I mean by that is that when they started the Arcanum, they had a list of potential masters that they wanted to bring on and teach. And because we're still in our infancy coming in, we're almost not quite ready for you guys yet, in the sense that we still have a long list of masters that we're trying to get in the active cohorts, and we're trying to get more apprentices up to the higher spheres. Because all of us that are at the Foundation and Sphere 1, most of us were brought on to teach at Sphere 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there's no point in them going, hey, Jess, would you like to be a Sphere 5 instructor? And me going, great, because I'll be sitting there for another year waiting for people to get up all those levels to even have the chance to work with me. You guys are more essential than the people that are at the higher spheres, in the sense that once we can move up, because there are enough people ready to move up to higher spheres, all the new people that come in, you guys are the faces at the door. You're the one opening and going, welcome to the Arcanum, this is what we have to offer. And if they don't love what you have to offer them in the first 20 levels, they never make it to us. So the entire Foundation collapses without you. That's what I mean by essential. So I know some of you are like, we're ready for our Vanguard, let's go now. And we're just unrolling Spear 2 and other things. So as we're building, honestly, some of you are just overachievers and moved through it so fast that we're like, oh, these guys are a little bit ahead of us. I guess we better catch up and get ready for them. So, you know, I'm really appreciative of the fact that most of you have been exceptionally patient. But the other thing is that you guys are also kind of our guinea pigs. In the sense that you're the first ones to ever go through the path of the protege. So as we're seeing certain things and realizing where certain downfalls may be, or where you may need a little more hand-holding, or where we need a little more focus, the path is going to change. It's being built 2 steps in front of you. So it's entirely probable that we're like, we're going this way. And then we'll go, you know what? Everybody's kind of, I think we need to detour over here. And maybe spend some time over here, and then we'll get back on this path. So it's going to be really fluid for the next couple of months, and you guys are just going to have to grin and bear it. And that's part of what I'm looking for, too. So my favorite thing to do is throw a wrench in this situation and have you guys be like, this is all good, and this is what we're going to do. And we go, just kidding, let's do this, and see how you handle that, because you're going to come into that a lot. Like, a lot. Mm-hmm. You have at least 20 people that are going to be studying under you, and I'm telling you right now, whatever the issue is, it's your fault all the time. And you'll get the feedback from them if they decide to switch cohorts or leave, and you will be so mad at some of the things that they say. And you'll be so happy at other things. Like every time somebody's like, I love my master, I just have this and this going on, I'm like, oh, I don't want you to go. And then somebody else is like, I don't have enough interaction with my teacher. And I'm like, well, you haven't checked in a month and a half. You think maybe if you showed up to class, we could talk about how you have interaction. So yeah. It's such a different relationship, because it's not a typical classroom. It's a relationship. It's one-on-one mentoring, which means they have to show up. And if they're not showing up, you have to very gently and very understandingly edge them back in, keep them focused, keep them motivated, keep them moving without nagging at them or being insensitive to the fact that they're getting ready to go on a trip for a month, or that they're 7 months pregnant, or that they're getting ready to finish their college thesis, or that they've just got normal life going on. Like, there's all kinds of things that pull them in and out. But then when they get overwhelmed and go, this is the thing I can cut out of my life to cause less stress, it's your fault, whatever the reason is. It's because they didn't get interaction, or because you didn't check in, or because and it's all on you, 100%. And you have to have that mentality. So as soon as I see a protege that encounters some kind of obstacle and then goes, it's your fault and this is wrong, and if you would have done this, then I could have handled that and I would have passed, my Vanguard, or I would be further along. What you're telling me is you're not ready to be in a leadership position, because a leadership position means it's all on you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's harsh. I'm looking to see how you can handle struggle, and I'm looking to see not only that you have the portfolio and that you have the ability to teach and that you've fulfilled all the checkmark requirements in the tasks that we're giving you on the path. I'm looking to see that you inspire, and I'm looking to see that you have something unique to offer. Saying I'm going to have a really fun cohort, you're not competing with anyone, because there's nobody in here going, not my cohort, my cohort's going to be boring. So you have to really focus on what it is that's setting your cohort apart. And if you're using words like passion-filled and art and creative and a safe place, you're using these positive descriptors that the opposite is a negative. And we talked about this before, and I threw Kyle into the spotlight because he actually wants to add an element of spirituality into his, and how that coincides with artwork, which is really unique. None of the masters here that are active masters are offering that, and that's not a selling point for why you should be in their cohort and, not anybody else's. So Kyle's got that answered. That's a strength of his. I haven't seen anybody else really throw anything into the mix that it's like, oh, yeah, that's totally different. We need that. We don't have that. If we don't have him, that's not here, and that will be missing from the Arcanum. So that's what I'm looking for. And I'm the hardest one to impress on the block. And if you don't impress all of us, if any of us say no, you don't pass your Vanguard. And we're only expecting about 20 to 25% of you to actually pass the first time and get into the Master Realm. So it's important to me that you guys know that we wouldn't have selected you if you didn't have the potential and the ability. So even if you get up to the Vanguard and we go, look, it's just not the right time, you're getting a not yet, not a no. And again, I'm telling you, the way that you handle that and how you respond to that is going to really set the bar for whether or not we want to invite you to keep training. Because most of the time it's going to be something little, something minuscule that's just not a strength of yours. Like, look, we think you're really excellent. We love your community. We love what you put together. Your critique work needs a little bit of help. You know, we need to work on your understanding of how to give better feedback that helps them the next time that they go to take a photograph. You know, or how to keep it less about personal preference and more about growth. Because I've seen a lot of your critiques, and a lot of you are confusing your personal opinion with critique of an image. And so let's somebody want to come up on the chopping block and throw an image up for critique, and we'll roll through real quick. Don't make me pick.
Sorry, I can't. I'm on my iPad.
Yeah, likely.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right. Bo, how about
Same
you?
here. I'm on my iPad, so.
Can I share something that I posted up on Flickr last night?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to become a better portrait photographer, and I went out and did a portrait that I thought was one of my better ones. Let me get Flickr up, and then I'll screen share it.
So there's a couple of really easy things that you guys should be looking at with critique. Have you guys heard of the Oreo theory? It's one good thing, one bad thing, one good thing. You sandwich it in. So I really like this because this is what could be improved. This is something else that works and why it's still a good image even though you could have improved on these things. And it doesn't have to be like 1, 2, 3. It may be like 2 great things at the beginning and then 4 or 5 little tweaks that could happen. But you start and you end on a good note because we're all moody artists. And we take it very personal because because our work is personal. We pour all of ourselves into it. So it's really, really hard for artists to have a thick skin. And if you're going to be a harsh critiquer, and my apprentices, the proteges that are in my cohort will tell you, I rip them to shreds every critique. I hold the record for the most tears in any cohort on live critiques. But they know that tough love still comes from a place of love and that, you know, they're doing it. And sometimes I'll tell them when I'm really rough on a critique with them, I'll be like, you took that like champ, girlfriend. Like, you know, because that takes a lot too to be able to deal with that. You know, it's really harsh, which is part of why I put one of my images up to let you guys kind of tear at it, because you have to know how to do that in a way that they don't take it personally. So, all right. So, Bo, tell me a little bit. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to pick on Christian and have Christian critique you. You have 3 minutes.
Right. In 3 minutes. Great. But first I need to see the image. Can I click on...
Yeah,
okay,
you just click on his screen.
Okay. Okay, now I can see it. Let me have a look. All right. So if this was a critique session, the first thing I'd do is, well, ask you what was your intent? What is it that you wanted to show in this image?
Okay, my goal with my portraits is I like to do them on location, and I call them environmental portraits, and I want like the setting, how they're dressed, to represent like who they are as a person. And this girl's kind of she's obviously like a country girl. She's got a horse. She even has like a southern accent, which you really don't hear in Nevada that much.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I see. Well, I think you achieved your goal you achieved your goal that's apparent in this image because it is a setting that makes sense for what you said. It's on a farm. You can see the fence. It's a horse, and she wears the hat. Did she wear it on her own, or did you tell her to put it on?
She had it. She didn't have it on at first, but there was like 30-mile-an-hour wind and it was blowing all over the place. So I told her that she needs to put the hat on.
Okay. Well, and whatever the reason was, it was a good choice because it really helps helps with your concept of environmental portrait. Well, the one thing that I would like to point out is is the background. You know that what is it? That aluminium box behind the horse.
Yes.
It just is not too beautiful. You know, it may be part of the environment, and so it doesn't really destroy the image, or it doesn't really keep you from reaching your goal. But on the other hand, it's not too visually pleasing. So one thing or one way to improve the image might have been to just go to another place, if that was possible in that situation. And on the other hand, I think on the left hand side of the image, the part of the fence, of course there are the fence constitutes some leading lines leading to the person, which is good. Helps the composition, but I might have cropped it a bit in. Don't make it just so large.
Okay.
So just to make her maybe even a bit more prominent, her and the horse.
Okay.
It might have, it might have to even make her appear a bit larger. So that's another thing. But what I really like is the pose. You know, the pose of the woman leaning casually on the fence. I think that's I'm not a specialist in as far as portraits are concerned, but it's a nice and casual pose, and it's a natural, and this is something that really works well.
Okay, thanks. I totally agree with you.
Okay, so Kyle, what is the biggest thing that you just got out of that critique? What was the best pointer?
I think the box was the first that out to me, as well as a thing that, in a photo like this, it had the most potential to be distracting. And so I think kind of calling that as something that needs to kind of be addressed, or something to think about next time you're out shooting, as, the background's really going to make a big difference, either adding to the photo or distracting. And in this particular instance, when you want it to be about the story between the girl and the horse, and really the main subjects, I think that's a really big one for this shot. So that was the main thing that stood out to me right away as well.
Awesome. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. I want each of you to queue up one photo. It can be any photo that you have. You can pull it off Google. You can pull it off your hard drives. Just queue it up so that we can go down and everybody can have a shot at critiquing a different image, because you can't, and I'm sure you've seen this like in the Creation Wars and even Critiquopolis, it's hard for us as masters because we'll probably all pull out most of the same things. So by the time we worked all the way down the line, there wouldn't be anything new to say. And I don't want you guys to be able to play off each other either. So we'll just kind of go down and pull through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to critique the critiquer on what was good and what was bad about their critique. And then I'll give the image a critique as well, just so you can kind of see how it goes through. What I'm looking for is not only what doesn't work, but what does. The biggest thing about critique should be why it works or it doesn't work. So with Bo's image looking through, I like the pose. The pose works. That doesn't help them. It pats them on the back. And for people that understand posing, they probably know. But why does the pose work? The pose works great because of the way that she's kind of leaning back. The asymmetry in her legs and the fact that she brought one up on that back rail creates that little triangle of space right between her, the front of her thigh and the knee of the back leg. Do you guys see that? That separates the two legs from each other, which helps slenderize her and make her thinner. If you didn't have that triangle of space, the eye reads the color from one side to the other, so it would make her look wider than she is, and no girl likes that, ever. The hat, I could probably take or leave. I think it's a little big. It's kind of overpowering her face. There's nothing that can be done about that in this shot now because it's done. So make sure you're prefacing why you're giving them the critique too. Like, you know, the hat I could probably take or leave. Next time you do a shot like this, maybe do a couple with the hat on and with the hat off. There's nothing that can be done about this image, but in the future, especially if he's doing this kind of work with these kind of people where, you know, hats may be a common accessory, you can play off of it because girls' hair is an amazing accessory, and it's something that a lot of women and men find very attractive visually with the girls. So, you know, taking that off, that hat may be overpowering her head. The next time he shoots, you know, having a little bit of both, she'll have a lot more variety. She may love both. You know, that hat may be something she wore in competition with the horses or her dad gave to her or whatever the sentimental value is, which is why she brought it, you know, but she'll love the way her hair looks in the other one, which means he just doubled his sales. See how we just discussed all of the whys as to why that critique mattered? You know, same thing with the clouds. You know, it's not very visually appealing because it gives more of a stormy kind of feel where her being smiley and the horse and the white fence is more pretty and pickety, and there's this dichotomy going on that might not work as well. You know, the wall and the cube, that doesn't really work because you're taking away from the texture. So you always want to follow up every critique with a because. It doesn't work because of this. It does work because of this. This is how it would have made it better and why that's better than the alternative. Does that make sense? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Christian, can you pull up an image for me and screen share? And Bo, you can turn yours off.
Oh, one thing on that photo is one of those little things. Horse poop. I'll have to get rid of the horse poop.
Yeah, see those little
No
things.
poop.
Now there's something that I didn't pick up on when I was looking at it. Thank you, Kyle, for being attentive.
And yeah, it's just one of those
Excrement
funny
is
things.
very. That's a. Don't
There was a Creation Wars early on where they talked about bird poop on a rock and probably just avoid poop in photos.
Yeah, that's a whole genre that we don't condone
Right.
here at the Arcanum. I mean, I guess unless you were like doing advertising shots for like a fertilizer company, I don't see where
something,
that
yeah.
would be beneficial. So,
Well, thanks. I really appreciate that.
now here's the thing: is that from the standpoint of us beating on you a little bit, Bo, how are you feeling after critique and during?
I think that it was all really good feedback. You know, I shot that last night and I worked on it for about 30 minutes and posted it up on Flickr, and then Thomas Hawk liked it, so I thought, hey, it must be pretty good. And then, but the hat thing was just because the wind was so crazy that I had to have the hat, or it would have been hair flying all over her face, and it would have been just crazy. So that was kind of like I had to do it. But I agree with you. I kind of wish it would have been a little bit of a different hat. But I'm gonna go in there and get rid of all the horse poop too.
Okay. All right. Christian's having some technical difficulties.
I think I'm back online.
Okay.
So let me just switch to my Lightroom window. And here's the image. Can you see it?
Okay. Yeah. Looks good. Okay, so you guys, how familiar are you guys feeling with the Google Hangouts and understanding how everything works with the screen share? Is everybody pretty proficient in that?
Yes.
Eh?
I find that on Safari it tends to lock up on me, so I just stopped using Safari altogether.
Okay. John, go ahead.
I've never done it.
Okay. So I'm actually, let me just walk you guys through real quick. Now, Ron and I have a difference of opinion here. Ron Clifford, he controls everything. They load them into Google, and he does the screen share and controls it. So if you guys are looking on my screen right now, which is doing all the little eternal mirrors, what you want to do is very simply, when you host the Hangout, you control the Hangout. So right now you can see it's on my screen. So anybody that's watching the rewatch, regardless of who's talking or what's going on, they are seeing my screen. As soon as I move it over to someone else, they are seeing whatever's on that screen. So I could be taught, and this is one that I've seen a few masters catch it. So they'll, as beautiful as Lisa is, they'll forget that they clicked on the other screen, and meanwhile they're talking about and critiquing an image, and all you're seeing is, your apprentice sitting there nodding or looking like you just shot her puppy, depending on what kind of feedback you're giving. So whatever you're clicking on is what's on screen. And then the screen share is pretty self-explanatory. You just go up and this little bar comes up. That'll start your screen share. When you're done, you just click stop and it comes back to you. So piece of cake. Generally what I do is as soon as we start, I like to let them control the screen share because a lot of times they like to pull them up in Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever, especially when we get to the higher levels and Sphere 1, because a lot of times they're doing gallery shows. The critique we did this morning, one of my photographers does sculptural photography and is doing an installation gallery collection right now. So it's not always, G+ is not always the right medium to have them. And honestly, I just don't want people emailing me 10,000 files that I have to download to look at. So I let them do it and I'll just click on their screen and it just stays on their screen share until we get through all the images. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. And that's the kind of thing too, that's a great thing. Like if you're new at it and you're kind of like fumbling around, you'll get some practice with teaching and with the critiques in general, but don't be shy about jumping in the path of the protege community and just asking someone to sit in and play with you with it for a little bit. There's all kinds of fun things. Like they have the nifty little like toolbox and stuff, and my apprentices like to draw mustaches on everyone while we're in Hangouts and stuff like that, which is always like exciting. So you can just kind of like, let's see, we'll give Pamela one. She's like, don't touch me. So you can invite people. There's all kinds of fun things to play with. That people are always giving me sound effects and whatnot. But so you get the idea. But just play with it, know how it works, and know how to move around it, and be ready for it to crash. I've had at least 3 critique days that I had to reschedule because it wouldn't work. So that's pretty much that. Okay, so Christian, you are ready to go.
Yes, I am.
John, let's hear a critique from you. But you have to take your mute off.
Are you speaking to me? I didn't catch the name.
No, John, sorry.
Oh, sorry, it cut out at the name.
He's got to hit mute first. Other things that all of us have done.
So you want me to share my screen now, Jessica?
No, I want you to click on Christian's screen so that you can see the image he brought up, and I'd like you to critique the image.
Oh, okay. Okay, very nice image. I really like this. I'm not too much into macro myself, but I do like what I get. I like your placement, especially off to the side, so I'm not seeing it just dead center. The very top here, right on the plant, as it drops out of focus there, it's a little visually disturbing. For some reason, my eye seems to, just travel right up, and it ends right there. And I think you'd be a lot nicer if you were just a little sharper there. Just a little disturbing to the eye. I know that doing a macro, you have to do lots of stacking on the images there. The item here on my screen is fairly sharp. I have no edges coming around things, which I like very much. And your background, it's very, very powerful background, and but it does work with a dark object like that. So I think you did a fine job on this one, Christian.
Okay. Um, Pamela, what does a powerful background mean?
Say that again. You cut out slightly.
What does a powerful background mean?
I don't know. I would use a different term. I would say that it's a nice, simple, and clean background, so that it helps the subject to pull out and stand out. Does that make sense?
Is that what you were trying to convey, John?
Well, more or less the strength visually of the background, the color and everything else is just very strong, and it works as opposed to something dark, and it's just strong visually to me. It stands right out.
Okay.
So my eye sees the background, then the image second.
Okay. So, see, that's much better than saying the background is powerful. Because if I would have gone down the row, I bet you everybody would have given a different definition for what they thought you meant. Powerful is in the color is very saturated and very, affronting as opposed to a more muted background. Powerful in that it's very bright and colorful, and then we just have this dark speck of a fly. Powerful as in it's very minimalist in comparison, so it allows us to focus on the subject. So just be careful about using a word to describe it and not going in further, because Pamela and I had the same exact face on when we went, I don't know what that means. And the thing is that I doubt that any of your apprentices will ask for clarification on that, especially in their first critique. As far as the rest of the critique, things like the top of the flower, the blade of grass, whatever it is that the fly's on, should be sharper. That sounds more like an opinion than it does a fact, because a lot of macro photography is shot very much at a very shallow aperture so that you're focusing on only what you want it to, which in this case would be the fly. So I actually like that everything fades out and becomes more minimalist. And that's something else to ask. I tell Monica this all the time because Monica knows how I feel about bugs, and she did this great self-portrait series, and one of the pieces had like these mealyworms or things, and they were really gross, and I don't like them at all. And but the photograph was really good. I just didn't like it because I don't like bugs. So food for thought when you're considering that. Does anybody else have anything to add on Christian's image?
I would really like to see it in high res so I could zoom in on the bug and see where it's the sharpest.
Right.
Because I feel like just getting as close as I can to my monitor and looking, it looks almost like the head or the chest is a little bit sharper than the head. But I think I would be able to tell better with the high res. But now that you've zoomed in on it some, then maybe I was wrong about that, because I can see detail on that eyeball. But from when I wasn't looking at it up close like this, it kind of looked like the chest was sharper than the head.
Right. So this is something where it may benefit you guys to actually have control of the photo so you can zoom in and out. But also this is part of why I like to let them hold it, because they can open it in something other than G+, where they're all loaded for me. And you can just ask him, like as soon as you said it, he zoomed right in. So don't be afraid to do that in order to provide better feedback. Yeah.
Also, real quick, if you don't mind me asking, I like to use their high-res images, so if like I can look at the histogram and show them like that they're a little bit underexposed or a little bit overexposed, or things, or maybe even make a few little corrections to show them.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've noticed Ron doing, and I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, the bottom line is that the best thing you guys can be doing to get better at critiques is watching the other masters critique for two reasons. One, because we learn by observing. It's been that way since our birth. Everything that you've learned to do, you observed somebody else do even when you got into photography. And two, because it's going to set in mind for you how different all of the masters handle their critiques. Ron and I are polar opposites. And I have more respect for him than I do almost anybody else. I love him. I think he's a brilliant, brilliant master. But him and I differ very much on how we run our houses, which is part of why I respect him so much, because it's so different. So the bottom line is that when you have that feeling, just like you said, Bo, and you were like, I like that he does this, and he shows him the histogram, and he even offers a couple of edits, if that speaks to you and that's where you feel that you have the benefit to offer, then that's absolutely what you should be doing. I've never edited any of my apprentices' images, ever. I've never touched them, not one. And I don't think that any of my apprentices have ever felt like they didn't get a lot out of critique because I didn't personally touch them, you know? Just keep in mind, again, that when you're doing that you're not editing for your style, you're showing them how to improve technical things. You want to give them the tools and teach them how to use them. You don't want to tell them what to build or how to do it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, John, let's see an image from you.
Okay. Let's see. Hit share screen. And, okay. Do I have an image up?
Nope, we're still seeing your handsome face.
Okay.
You guys can all throw your images up in screen share, and we'll just run right down the line.
Okay.
Whoever gets there first gets bonus points.
I guess I need to have the image open when I do share screen?
Probably.
Okay, that's probably what I'm doing wrong here. So
Tom got up first, followed by Randy, so Tom will do you while John gets his up. Who would like to critique Tom? Please be merciless. He's one of mine.
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm new to the whole Hangout on Air. So people threw their images up. So what, they just pulled their image up? I don't know how they got to that point where you see their images.
So I'll show you one more time. When you go to screen share.
Yeah, and I do know how to screen share.
Okay, so when you go to screen share, it'll actually pull up all of the files that you have opened. So you have to have all of the windows that you're using in the program, so you have to have it open in something else. So they'll appear in like 6 little blocks that say like Photoshop and stuff like that, and you just click on which one. So the only problem with that is that I've seen a couple of people where they'll select like Photoshop, but then if they go and pull it up out of Photoshop or out of Lightroom, it won't show that. It'll keep showing like whole album.
Right, okay. Thank you.
So you just volunteered to critique Tom's image too, since you broke up.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Oh gosh, I guess I should look at it here for a second. Okay. I love the light and the movement in the image. I love all the texture. It's really appealing to me. With that raking low light, it really brings out the texture in the sand. And I really like how it kind of has that diagonal movement of the light from, stronger at the top left down to the right. It just kind of pulls your eye through and around. And I think that I'm working on the word also, Bo. I think that the placement of the little, I guess it's a weed perhaps, is really nice. It anchors the image, so it's not simply, it adds that extra texture on top. Let me think. In terms of how to, I think one thing that I'm seeing is that I'm really drawn to the texture of the sand and is it a weed, John, or is it like a plant?
It's just a branch that's there was a real powerful windstorm, and it left wonderful textures in the sand and stuff, and uncovered things and covered things up, and that was probably a growing branch a couple of days earlier, and I just uncovered it, and it fell over, and it kind of blew sand all around it and everything. So
you were trying to show the different textures? Is that what you were going after? What your idea was?
Yeah, well, the textures are when you're shooting sand, that's like primary what you're shooting is textures, but the trying to make sense of them, composition, a feeling. One of the things that this kind of represents is life and death in the dunes, the way it happens. Things are uncovered and they're recovered back up, and because they're constantly moving and stuff, and that's kind of what the image was supposed to represent.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No. It's definitely visually pleasing to me. I think one thing I would say is that I think the branch up front doesn't appear to be as much in focus as the texture of the sand behind. It's hard to tell here in G+, but I think that's the main thing that I notice. Well, you know, what do you want the subject to be? If it's the texture of the sand, then maybe the branch wasn't necessary, or if it was the branch, then maybe a little stronger focus on the branch, maybe through your angle, or. And you can tell me, is it sharp? It's hard to tell on G+.
Yeah, it's fairly sharp. It's about as sharp as a sand, so it's.
Okay.
Am I moving it up there for you? I don't know.
Yeah, you are, but it doesn't necessarily resolve very well on this end, I think. So, but overall, I mean, I love the feel of it and just the texture. And you have, if you can zoom back out again, I like the nice spread in tonality that you have throughout the image.
Okay.
Okay, so that was one of the better ones, Pamela, as far as critique and understanding. The only feedback that I have for you is be careful about I like. If you rewatch it, because I like is an opinion. I like chocolate ice cream. That's great. I don't. I love vanilla. So I like is opinion based as opposed to fact. And you want to have a blend of both, which is why this, this works is a good way to start. Texture really works because of this, which may be because you like it. It can still be the kind of thing where somebody's like, well, I actually think it's a little over contrasty and that the texture is overwhelming visually, which may be true. But again, both sides have their point, and then it's up to John to look at and go, well, you don't know what you're talking about. The texture is amazing, which is something that you want to encourage too. I say that a lot with my apprentices, especially when I'm giving harsh critique, because they're like, well, I actually really love that, and that's why I did it. That's fine. If that's going to be your signature style, it doesn't matter if I like it or not. It matters that you love it and that you want to put your name on the bottom of it. And that's the biggest thing that I'm also looking for in critiques, is that you're not only giving them good feedback that they can take and implement into either post-processing and things with that shot, but also that they can apply in the future to future shoots and retouching, but that you're also reminding them that even coming from the master, no matter who it is, I don't care if it's Trey Ratcliffe sitting in and critiquing landscapes, it's all outside of the artist, and we don't know what you're trying to say. So you may go, well, this is really over textured, so it's kind of dark and stark. But if in his mind he's like, I want stark life and death in the desert, then he accomplished that. We were talking about Monica. Monica has this series of her. These self-portraits that she did of like her midsection, and they're her like cut like right under the bust line, and they're very textured and they're very raw and they're not pretty, like in the traditional sense of beautiful portraits of women that we're used to seeing. These aren't. They're raw and they're emotional. And she was telling me at the gallery show that a lot of people were like, I don't know why you have this hanging on your walls. Because, and that brought up a really good point, because art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. And if she's causing a reaction where people are telling them to take her work down, that is a wild freaking success for me. If you ingrain your work into someone that much that they have that kind of visceral reaction, even if it's that they don't like it, it's still a success because you got them to feel something. The worst thing that can happen is that someone wanders by your image. So what you're looking for is the potency in the images. If I don't want to keep looking at that shot, they already went down from 3 to 2 for me. And when I'm grading their work, I'm grading it based only on themselves, because I have people that picked up the camera 5 months ago, and I have people that have been doing it for 30 years as a hobby, and I have people that are doing it professionally full time. You know, so I don't grade 1 against 2 against 3. They're not in competition with each other. Every critique that I sit down with them, I'm looking to see growth in their work. When I sit down at level 9, every image they bring better have implemented some of the stuff we talked about in level 4, or they're not going to get a great score on it. If I don't see growth, you fail. But it's only against yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a really, really tough thing to be able to critique people in a way that gives them the tools to improve and continue growing without them feeling like you're clipping their wings. You can't encourage them to fly if you're beating them down on the branch. So it's got to be both. So I'm just going to run through these because I only have about an hour and a half, and I just want to give you guys some feedback. Do you guys have any questions about critiquing?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Okay.
I think we're going to be able to choose at some point the apprentices, but I'm not so sure about how to manage myself when I see, for example, I see some macros here or some work I'm not used to, and I'm not an expert because I'm not even an expert on the work I do every day. So how do you handle when you have to critique an image and you don't have really the knowledge that it's necessary? Because
Okay.
even if you choose your apprentices, I'm sure you've come to images on the critiques that are beyond your real knowledge, and I suppose that happens almost to every master because we tend to specialize.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, there are literally more than 1,000 apprentices for you guys to choose from. So there's search results in there that you can choose by genre of photography, by experience level, you know, by gender, by location and where they are in relation to you. I always choose mine. My first filter is passion. They have an algorithm that reads how passionate you are. And I never get past page 3 because I want people that are passionate above anything else. So you do have the ability to only invite people into your cohort that are in your area of expertise. For me, there are certain rules that apply across the board. They're the photography rules, the generals, and you hear some of them, like, you know, like the rule of thirds, and, you know, is it properly exposed? You can look at a histogram of a picture of a butterfly or a picture of a tree in the desert or a picture of a portrait, and you can tell whether or not it's overexposed. Did they blow out the highlights? Have we lost the shadows? Those kind of things are universal. So you can always comment on those regardless of what genre of photography you guys are in. The other thing is that you can also think about it in terms and keep in mind that not everybody that's looking at the work, hopefully less than the majority, are not photographers, because photographers are not your client. The only time that you guys are my client is if I'm teaching and I have something educational to give to you as photographers. But chances are most of you are not buying my prints and you're not booking sessions with me. You're not my target. Okay? So whatever their target is, you get to be that person. It can actually be an asset for you to not be a macro photographer and judge a macro photography. What is their goal with the image? They can tell you. What did you want to do? Like, Randy, you have the butterfly shot up. What was your goal with the image?
My goal with this image was just basically to display the butterfly. I mean, it's basically our local symbol here in Santa Cruz, the monarch butterfly. They come here every winter to rest up. And so I wanted a nice tight shot that showed off the butterfly without a lot of background distraction.
Okay, and to what end? What's the point of the shot? Why are you creating butterfly pictures?
Wildlife photography is what I do, and it's mainly for display and sell as stock for magazines, things like that.
Okay, so are you doing this full time?
Yes.
Okay, so you're creating stock and sort of wildlife and like almost macro wildlife photography with the goal that your end client is either a blog or a magazine or someone that's in need of this photo. That's your client.
Right, and I've also added into my business model, really, actually photographers are a large part of my business model because I'm marketing, viewing YouTube videos and to gain views for monetization. I'm marketing tours to come to Santa Cruz and go on tours so I can show you where all the birds are at, for instance. And I'm also, trying to sell them gear through B&H through the affiliate program. So all that's part of my business model.
Okay, but this image isn't being purchased by photographers.
Right.
So that's a good point. Did you see where we just hit on the conflict where he's like, well, photographers are mine because I sell them B&H and I do these workshops and I have these YouTube videos. None of that has anything to do with the butterfly, right? The butterfly was created for a specific client. So who are we looking at? We're looking at butterfly enthusiasts. Well, how are we getting them in front of butterfly enthusiasts? Probably by hashtagging all of the photos and making sure that they're coming up in the relevant search results. But really, if you're talking about stock photography and people looking at it, what do we need? We need a pretty picture of a butterfly. Can we all agree that's a really pretty picture of a butterfly? Is anybody like, no, that butterfly sucks?
That's awesome.
No, it's beautiful. It's sharp. I like the shallow depth of field because it allows us to focus on nothing but the butterfly and the wings. I can totally see where it would be relevant for any kind of butterfly blog, anything that it would probably work well with gardening. A lot of times if the photograph is good, inherently as a photographer, you can look at this and go, that's a good photograph. It's well exposed, sharp and in focus. What you don't want in focus isn't. It's, the composition's well done with where it is on the photo. There isn't too much to negatively critique here, right? I don't have to be a wildlife photographer or a macro photographer or anything else but a boudoir photographer to see that's a really pretty picture of a butterfly. So if you can't offer good critique and break it down any further because one, it's a really good image, or two, it's not in your genre, then the next thing is to help them take that image to the next level. What do you want to do with this? Well, I want to sell it as stock photography. Okay, well, where are you selling it on stock photography? Half the time when I'm talking to my clients or to my apprentices about their images, it has nothing to do with the image itself. It has to do with why they created it and where they want to go with it and how I can get them from where they are to where they want to be. Like, Randy, where are you sharing this? Where do your images show up? Is this on your social media?
Yes, I share on Google+. I also share on Facebook, Flickr, Tumblr, and I market my stock through Alamy, and as well as I have several contacts in the local area among the local periodicals we have here, and usually when they need a shot of a animal or bird or insect, they give me a call, and I usually have it.
Good. Okay, so we're building entire libraries now of these things so that anybody that does need it can call him. I think that's a brilliant idea. Social media is a great one. Hopefully we're hashtagging monarch, butterfly, close-up butterfly, like all the words. If somebody wants to find this image, what are they searching for?
Yeah,
butterfly, monarch, wings.
All those are important. And then for the more scientific people that are often searching for images, tagging it with its actual genus and species is important too.
Exactly. So do you see how we actually got away from critiquing the image, but we're still talking about what the value of the image is to that artist? That's what you're looking for. I have a couple of landscape photographers in my cohort, and I don't do anything with them. You know, Monica Ray, specifically, when he was in. With landscape photography, why do I look at a landscape photo when I'm not a landscape photographer? For the same reason every other non-photographer looks at it. Because I want to go there. How many times do you see something pretty on like Places Wow or 85 of the best waterfalls ever in existence or 10 places you should see before you die, and you're like, oh, I want to go. It's on my bucket list along with the 8,436 other places I haven't gone. If it makes me want to be there, it's a success. And then I can take the knowledge that I have about composition and about lighting and about exposure and about, you know, aperture and sharpness and what it is, and then I can also comment on what I do and don't like about the image and how it makes me feel, those kind of things. You don't always have to worry about having the technical expertise. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's with me? Okay. All right. I do want to touch base on some of Jen's questions. And then anything that you guys want to talk about, we can also talk about for a little bit before we go. And then I'm going to kick somebody out so that Peter can hop on for a minute and he can spend some one-on-one time with you if he needs to.
Jessica, I've got a question.
Yes.
Not really a question, but a suggestion. What I've done here to prepare for my own critiques that I just started doing for the path is I created an outline. You know, things I want to look at and want to talk about. And if I can share my screen for just one more minute, where is it? I can show you. It's very rudimentary at the moment. It's far from being finished. But what I would like to suggest, can you see it now?
Mm-hmm.
The window with the text. What I would like to suggest is I could try to create a Google document from it and put it online so that everybody can contribute to it, so that everybody has this list of things to look at. So and so that we have at least some pointers. For example, should I ever have to critique a portrait, that I have some pointers. What is there that I can look at when I have to critique a portrait, because I don't know anything about it. So if everybody contributes to this list, we might have a good help document. What do you think about that?
I think that it's a great idea to have it as a reference. What I don't want is I don't want you guys having this open and looking at the image and then looking at your checklist and looking at the image and going, how's the composure? How's the sharpness? What was your thing? Why, when, where? You know, like, you don't want to sound like telemarketers when they call and they're very obviously reading, and it's like, hello, I'm calling you today to tell you about a wonderful thing, you know, like, so you don't want to. And the other thing is that if you're doing that and you're following that list with everyone, then we lose the personal connection, because I'm telling you right now, most of what your apprentices want is the same thing that you guys wanted. It's personal connection and one-on-one time with your master. They don't want to be read to. They don't even care about the images. They care about the fact that something about you spoke to them enough to make them want to pay $80 a month just to have you on call so that they can talk to you if they need something, because they feel that you are the person to guide them further from where they are to where they want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what I meant it to be, a reference that we can use when we prepare for the critique, but that certainly we shouldn't use when we're doing the critique. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are great ideas. Like, you can touch base on all of them, and I say all of them in the sense that you can look over all of them and decide which are important to you. You know, there are certain photographers that do a lot of post-processing, so they spend a lot of time critiquing the retouching. There's others that are lighting gurus that spend a lot of time giving you a lot of feedback on the lighting. Whatever is your thing, let that be your thing. I would rather you give one solid piece of advice for every image that you see that can help them the next time they pick up a camera than have a list of 25 things that you just comment on to check off your list. Yeah? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So Jen said, I know you're looking at the items in the tracking sheet during the Vanguard meeting. Are there other things that are not on that sheet that you were evaluating as well? Yes, you guys should definitely be keeping up to date on the tracking sheet because the Vanguard members, the headmasters, and we go to that first. We cannot keep track of everything you guys are posting in the group, so whatever's on there is probably what we're looking at. If you're not filling it in and updating it, then we're looking at the last thing you updated or we're looking at nothing. And if you're not keeping up on it, it means you don't want to be a master because we're looking at who has their stuff filled in. And if you fill it in 5 minutes before you get to your Vanguard meeting, nobody looked it over, chances are you're not going to pass. I'm being really straightforward and honest with all of you because I don't want anybody to feel led astray. Like, everything that you're doing is the minimum requirement to even get to the Vanguard. It does not guarantee you a spot here. Are we all clear on that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Jessica Lark, you're my wild card. I had a nickel for every time I heard that. I've worked much more with Lesson Run. Is there any particular advice you give me about my application? Are there any big changes you'd suggest to make me a better candidate? Should we schedule a private chat before the Vanguard to talk about it? I'm not doing private chats with each and every one of you before your Vanguard. I don't have that kind of time, and I don't love all of you enough to do that. But I do love you. So this is exactly what these meetings are for you guys to hop on. You can ask me anything you want. We can go over your application. It doesn't even have to be Path of the Protege related. We can talk about where you are in your business and your studying. You can come and bring images that you want some feedback on, because the best way to be a better teacher is to be a better artist. You know, so that is something that I'm looking for. We had one protege, actually we've had 2 or 3 now that have said very definitively that if they didn't get to be a master, that they weren't going to continue training in the Arcanum. That tells me you don't understand the value of the Arcanum, and one of the first mantras of the master is a good teacher is first and always a good student. I can't wait to study under some of the masters at the higher spheres. You know, you should always be learning. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be learning in the Arcanum, but part of the hierarchy and part of what's great about it is that you guys get your mastery and you come in and you teach Sphere 0 and 1 up to level 20, and you study under a higher master, and then, you know, we put you up the same way we did now and go, we really think that Kyle or Bo or Pamela, we really think that they're ready to be a Sphere 2 master, and we would like to see them elevated to a higher level. If you're not studying, you're not moving up. So that really depends on your ambition as an artist and as a master, but I'm really looking to see that you love to learn, because if you love to learn, then you'll have proteges and apprentices that love to learn. Does that make sense? Okay. It seems that there can be a big wait for the Vanguard meeting due to some international tax scenarios. It would be incredibly helpful if I could get my Vanguard meeting set up before June 22nd, when I have an opportunity to change a few things about my Italian residency status. That would save me many hours of legal paperwork later. Can we start wrangling calendars? I could sit in on a Vanguard meeting anytime before the completion on June 22nd. Okay, so a couple of you guys feel like you're ready for the Vanguard. There are a couple of changes coming to the Path of the Protege, some new forms and things we want you to do that we're kind of waiting on. And just so you guys know, you guys are at, right now, there's a no vacancy sign in the master community to not bring any more proteges in, because we really want to focus on getting you guys up and in, and we want them to come in with the next graduating class. So you guys are the seniors. Nobody else is being admitted to the school until the end of the school year. As far as the Vanguard, there is a very, very good chance that the way that the Vanguard is set up now is going to change. So what it might be is, it may be that you sit down and have a one-on-one with your housemaster and they pass you, and then you have a one-on-one with your advising master and they pass you, and they're both going to send notes to me, and then you may sit down with me or me and one of the headmasters, and we'll give you the final say. So it may be a 3-step process in which any one of them can do. Now, here's what's not going to happen. Regardless of how you get in front of us, whether it's all of us in one shot in a group hangout like this, or whether it's on an individual basis, nobody is going to sit down and go, I don't think you're ready to be a master, but thanks for coming. See you next time. What you are going to get is, if any of us feel that right now that you're just not quite there yet, then you're essentially going to get critique. And we'll tell you why. You know, look, we really think that you're really strong. We love your tutorial videos. Your Meet the Master is awesome. Your critiques could use a little work in understanding the why or the how, or we feel like you need to focus more on the technical expertise rather than your opinion, whatever that may be. Or, you know, look, we think that your critique is amazing. We love your personality. You know, we think that you're going to be a great asset, but we really would like to see a little bit of a stronger portfolio from you, because we think you're going to have a hard time reining people in, you know, if they don't know your name, if you don't have stunning work. So, you know, we can give you any kind of feedback we want, but the bottom line is that you have to bring your A game and impress all of us. You know, there's, I think, somewhere around 70 active masters that they invited in the last year and a half, and guys, I can't tell you how selective they were about who they brought on. And it shows in every single one of their cohorts, and I stalk all of them. You know, they're very different, they're very diverse. We're not just looking for you to be wonderful, we're looking for you to be different. We're not looking for you to be good enough to be an Arcanum Master. We're looking for the Arcanum to be less if we don't have you. We want to fight for you, like college recruiter for the rookie, you know, all-star player. You know, we really want to like go to bat for you, and so that's what we're looking for, is for you to really shine and impress everybody that's on your Vanguard, so that if anybody was dumb enough to say no, the other three would be like, are you crazy? We will fire you from the Arcanum if you don't greenlight this person. They have to be in the Arcanum. We need them here. That's what we're looking for. And in order to have that, you have to have something that not everybody else in this chat has. And if you don't know the answer to that, by the time you come to the Vanguard, chances are you're not going to get in, because you can't be interchangeable. And this is a really good lesson for business in general. You know, if you're a great photographer, just like every other great photographer, you may do okay in your business. If you want to be exceptional, you have to be offering something in your services or your products or your artistry that they cannot get if they don't have you. That the closest they get is some knockoff version. So whatever that answer is for you, whatever lights you on fire and impassions you, whatever made you want to fill out that application in the first place, that is the single most important answer that you can bring to the Vanguard, at least with me. That's what I'm looking for. You want me to accept you, you want me to put you alongside me and the other masters with people that I admire, because I do. I do. There are so many people here that every now and then, like, I get around in the masters hangouts and I'm like looking at the people on my left and right and I'm like, they think I'm supposed to be here. You know, like I'm still, and it's funny because all of us feel that way about certain masters that are in. We're like, we're so far out of our league. It's like T-ball playing with Babe Ruth right now. It's great. And it's funny because every time somebody says that, we're like, really? Because I feel the same way about you. You know? So really what we're saying is that we want you to come join our ranks because we want to learn from you. And there are a few of you that I've seen your work and I've seen your tutorials that I'm like, I have to be in your community because I'm the Maven and it's really important, but really I just want to see what you do and how you teach. And I'm going to be doing little private classes on my own. And I'm like, yeah, I totally passed Kyle's level 4 and I'm like up to level 8 on Monica's cohort. I can totally do that, you know, but like everybody has something to teach me. If I don't believe that, I've already let you out of the path of the protege. So what is that answer for you? Do you know that already? Because there's a couple of you that have been dropping me messages and going, I'm ready for my Vanguard, I'm ready for my Vanguard. So...
I'm sorry.
So
I thought it was kind of rude to send you that.
No, it's not rude at all, but I'd love to hear your answer now. What if
I do have
right
an
now,
answer.
right here?
And this is actually part of a question that I was wanting to ask later, because I've had a little bit of a mixed reaction from other people that I've asked.
Okay.
Like Kyle has this spirituality emphasis. I feel like I'm a walking encyclopedia of the American West, and I've like took grad classes on Western geography, and I know where everything is and when the best time to go. And it seems like it's one of the biggest tourist attractions in the world. And I'm like, I've been doing my cohort design the past few days, and my intention was whenever I started sending invitations out to just look at what time zone they're in and try to get all Pacific time, Mountain time, and try to have it all real Western Central so people can get together and meet each other. But I know that people are coming here all the time from Asia and Europe and all that too. But I didn't put anything specific in my cohort as of now that I wanted to do this big Western emphasis. I asked Bob about it, and he said that he thought that it might be hard for me to get 20 apprentices if I went all out on the West. But
Is
I
that
think
a
that,
problem for you?
well, no, I mean, I do want to have a full cohort, but I feel like I know a lot about the subject. I mean, it's my passion. My Meet the Master video, has a lot of my love for the West emphasized in there, with Grand Canyon stuff and Yosemite stuff and things like that. So I'm just kind of like, should I go all out, all in on this? Which I want to, but I'm just like a little hesitant from some of the feedback I've heard from others.
This is where, who cares whatever anybody else says if this is what you want.
Okay. Well, then
Absolutely.
I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to do it.
The people that is for are the people who will respond. Also, guys, don't discredit the fact that yes, you have an entire database and you have the apprentice antechamber to pull from, but there are at least 5 people in my cohorts right now that were not part of the Arcanum. They saw me tag it, or they saw something the Arcanum posted, or whatever, or I said I'm mentoring with the Arcanum. Well, what's the Arcanum? Don't forget, you guys can advertise, and people will sign up to join the Arcanum just to be under you. So there may not be 20 apprentices that are in the right time zone and can come and be there, or that are interested in photographing solely in this like Wild West kind of category within a 250-mile radius kind of thing. But if you start doing that and you're posting pictures, there may be 25 other people that are following you online that are like, oh my God, I would love to do that. What's the Arcanum? I got to go sign up right now so I can be one of those apprentices because I have to go do this.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have some of my former photo students that are just waiting. They've got applications in, but they want to be in mine.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of people that do that. I've had a couple of apprentices that have sat out on Sphere 2 and rejected other invitations because they're waiting for me to move up. And I was like, I'm not in a hurry to get up there, guys. They're like, that's all right, we'll wait. But people will do that all the time. Absolutely, I recommend. Like, the Arcanum is a platform for you guys. It's an open class. You can bring everyone with you. Grab your tribe. Don't think that you're limited just to the antechamber. Go grab your people and go, guys, I'm doing this. You can come get spiritual with Kyla too, and then you can go have a Wild West thing. There's going to be hot dogs and s'mores, and we're going to photograph the Grand Canyon, and then we're going to go over and get naked with Jay Lark. Like, that's what we're looking for. Like, can you imagine how much fun it's going to be when we do our own expo and everybody's teaching what the day is going to be like? That's exactly what we're looking for. Like, now I'm excited about it. I'm excited the same way I was when Kyle told me his idea, because that's unique. We don't have that here. That's something very specific. Is it going to be a niche that you're going to have a harder time filling because it's not general? Yeah. But when somebody wants it, are they going to be able to go to anybody else to get it? Nope. And that starts to come in. You guys might not know this unless you're, well, all of you should be close to level 20 if you're not already. Sphere 2, there's a tuition fee, and it gets higher as you go in the spheres. So you pay a one-time fee to join the cohort at a higher level, and then it's just your $80 a month. I think for Sphere 2, Robin and Ron both did like $250 or something like that. But, they have amazing masters that they're looking at bringing up for the higher spheres that, people pay thousands of dollars to go study for 1 or 2 days in a private workshop with them. So if you're thinking about it like that, if somebody wants that, that kind of niche is exactly what's going to get you paid the tuition fees, because there aren't 25 other, landscape photographers or macro photographers or street photographers. They're so generic. If they want that experience, the only person they can go to now is you. And anybody else that tries to offer it is going to be a Bo knockoff now. And they won't do it. Like, even if they can, even if they're in the same area and they do it and they arrange it exactly the same way as you, your heart's in it. I heard it all over your voice when you're like, I want to. You were just waiting for someone to give you permission. You had the same tone of voice that my son has when he's like, can I have a cookie?
Okay. Well, thank you. I feel a lot better about this.
That's exactly what we're looking for. How about the rest of you? Do you guys know what your thing is? What's your cohort about?
I have to say something, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, because well, I think my thing is art. You know that because we know each other for a long time right now, and art as a life changer. That's what I want to do in my cohort. Whether you apply it on a business or not, I think, for my experience, I don't know. I'm living a life I never thought I could live. So I think I can share that, and potentially I can teach how to do that to others. And that's what moves me right now, sharing everything, because that's why I began my YouTube channel, and that's why I'm telling everybody things that most of my photographers in my area of influence are telling me, why are you doing this for free? I don't know, because I want to share it, because I want to teach it, because it's not that difficult, because I can do it, so you can do it. And they're just, oh, that's great. And I don't know, I want to share that, and I want to be able to make someone happy. I don't know, a girl today, a photographer, posted a picture and said, I did this flower crown with your tutorial, Monica, thank you so much. And she did a beautiful picture of a girl and a session, and that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to share. And I want to share also the experience of creating art as a life changer, and something that can heal you and heal the others. And you can do it also in the scenario of a business.
Yeah. So you hit on 2 points that I think are really good. One, that's something else that we're looking for. Monica said, I'm getting yelled at by my colleagues about, why am I giving this all away for free? Because she can't help herself. She loves to teach as much as she loves to create, and it's just in her. The money's a bonus. The people that, the goal of life is to do what you would do for free and get paid for it. That's success right there. So that's what we're looking for with the teachers, and that's what we seek out. When we invited you guys as proteges, it's because you were exuding that in your cohorts. You were teaching your fellow apprentices, you were going above and beyond and looking for links, you were creating tutorials. That's what we're looking for. If you're willing to do that for free, then we know you're willing to work for it when we start throwing money at you. And we need that kind of passion. If you're in it for the money, you will burn out. It is a lot of hours. It is a lot of time. It is a lot of energy. I am very emotionally invested in every single one of my apprentices. Their success is my success. And I feel their joy and their triumphs, and I hurt for them when they're struggling, and I empathize with that. I think that compassion is an essential element of being a master here, because it's such a personal relationship. And they're going to get attached to you, and they're not going to want to leave, and they're going to want to keep studying under you, and they're going to follow you all the way up through the arcanum because of where you lead them. So you better make sure you know where you're going, because this is their lives. And Monica, I think that you just hit on it, which is something else I want. Like, don't think of your Meet the Masters, and when you start inviting apprentices, don't think about selling it like, this is why you want me. Be a little more selective in it and go, there's 1,000 apprentices. This is why I want you. This is why you're lucky enough to have me study under you, because that's not ego speaking. We were taught from such a young age that anytime that we're proud of ourselves, anytime that we recognize our own gifts, that it comes off as ego or conceit, and it's not. You guys have worked really hard to accomplish everything that you guys have done. You know that. And it's okay for me to say that you guys are talented and exceptional and amazing artists and great educators and that you deserve to be here, but you guys have problems saying that yourself. And I'm telling you right now, every single apprentice that you have in your cohort is going to have a hard time saying that. I have had apprentices break down and cry, and I mean bawl, over the fact that they don't feel like they deserve to show their art or be proud of what they're doing. And when you give them permission to do that, they will open and they will flourish and they will move mountains. You know, Monica just hit on hers and I don't think she even realized it. Why do I want you in my cohort? Because I want people that want to create art that will change their lives. If that's you, this is your cohort. That's really powerful. You know, you guys all have that. You know, I want people that understand and love these places in the West, these big, enormous, monumental, God-inspired creations. You know, these things that no person could ever create, and I want people that stand at them and feel this small and realize how big the world is around them and capture that and put that online so that somebody else that's never going to get there can feel that small and just marvel at that grandeur. If that's you, this is your cohort. You know, I want people that are on fire in their spirituality, that are moved by their relationship with God, and that is going to inspire their work, and that maybe that's going to help them reach out and further their connection with their creator and somebody else's connection. Maybe that piece of art that you create, even if it doesn't have anything to do with any kind of religious premise as the subject, you know, how many times have you been moved by a piece of art, a piece of music, a movie, to tears, to awe? Is that not the face of God within you? If so, this is your cohort. That's what I'm looking for in the messages. That's what you should be bringing to your Vanguard, because nobody's going to care about your critiques from that point on, because that's every single one of those. And I got to tell you, I've been to the West and it's awesome, but I don't go, where's my cowboy boots? I got to go to the West. And, you know, and I was raised a Catholic, but, like, we were, like, holiday Catholics, like Christmas and Easter. Like, if you ask my dad, he's like, no, I'm not a practicing Catholic because I pretty much got it down. You know, like, so, but I can totally understand where the benefit of that is and how that could be a very spiritual connection, even if they're different religions. You know, and I've seen Monica's work because she's one of my apprentices, and her series, just from the standpoint of woman and mother, there was so much emotion and agony and love and self in them that you could not be moved by this. And you may love it or you may hate it, but you could not ignore it. That's a master. That's someone that I want beside me, that when they go, why should you join the Arcanum? I can go, because of Monica, and because of Kyle, and because of Bo, and because of Pamela, and because of Randy. You know, like, that's what I want. I want to show them your faces and them go, hell yeah, I got to sign up. Does that make sense? Can you feel that?
Absolutely.
Isn't that why you joined?
Yeah.
How about you, Randy? Why should I come join yours? No pressure.
Because I have a passion for everything that is conservation, that I will help you grow your passion for the same thing, that we will seek to create art that we can then show the world how important these animals and these indigenous people and these historic places are, so that other people will care about the same things we care about.
Absolutely. And, you know, like, the thing is that we're not going to save them all. These places are not all going to be preserved. I just saw an article that there are only 2 white rhinos left in all of existence, and they're both too old to mate. They're under 24-hour surveillance and armed guard to keep from poachers. They're going to be gone. There's nothing we can do about it. And the person that took that photo may have been the last person to ever photograph that species. And that photograph is the only way that anybody that follows us in future generations are ever going to know that exists. That there was this magnificent giant that we didn't care enough about to save.
Yeah.
But maybe we can save this one. If that's you, this is your cohort.
Yep. Yeah, we've got a fight going on right here in Santa Cruz right now to save the snowy plover. As far as we know, we've got about 200 left. And I've been lucky enough to photograph them.
This is what should be in your Meet the Master video. These stories, this connection, this is what will move people, and not only move them to join your cohort, but move them to join your cohort, and in being in your cohort change their lives. You have no idea the impact you guys are going to have on people. It is astounding. And it is not because of anything that we're doing. You know, like I look at my apprentices, it's not that you teach them so much or that you have so many resources to give them, because a lot of you guys message me privately and go, I kind of feel like I'm not up to par with some of the others. I'm not as experienced. I don't know as much. I don't, you know, it's not about that. It's about connecting with someone on that intimate level and telling them that what they're doing is important, that how they feel is important, that what they're creating matters. If you do that, you give them permission to be who they are, to follow their passions, and that leads them to their purpose. And that purpose is greater than just creating pretty pictures. You know, something going on in Randy's cohort with what they're doing, he can have people in different countries that are photographing creatures he's never even heard the name of that are all but extinct. And one of those photos goes viral, and some company or a nonprofit uses it on their Kickstarter to save them, and they raise millions of dollars, and they start a whole new breed, and all of a sudden it's gone from the critically endangered to just the endangered list to, you know, back to populated. Like, you guys can literally change lives and the world. That is the foundation that the whole Arcanum is being built off of, and somebody looked at you and said, we really think this person can help. Pamela, what's your cohort?
Oh man, I've been thinking. My wheels have been spinning. It's kind of interesting because my husband is a professor of art and art history, and he's getting his PhD in aesthetics, specifically where art and religion meet, imagery, how it's used. And so we've been married for 22 years, and so we tend to think and talk about the same things. And I think the genesis of my photography, I kind of started in macro. That was like my first love. Still kind of is probably. And why I started it in a sense was, what drew me to it was that beauty is everywhere if you stop and look for it. And I like to do landscape, I like to do macro, I like to do architecture. Beauty is not simply, I see beauty as the face of God present for us to observe, if we choose to see it. Mm-hmm. And I think that beauty is important for our survival, in terms of it's important for us to take it in, to observe it, to recognize it, be it, every day is wrapped in a gift, 2 gifts, the sunrise and the sunset. There's beauty in both. It begins with a gift, ends with a gift of beauty. And I think that life is hard, and it's easy to miss the beauty. I have 5 children. I can get a little crazy sometimes. So stopping and smelling the roses, is a way of putting it. Stop, clear everything out of your head, focus on, how creation can speak to you. And it's not just God's creation, it's man's creation through the abilities that God has provided. Mm-hmm. Through architecture and whatever. So yeah, it's kind of vast.
Yeah, but that, that's the beginnings of it for you. So you know, when you're writing your letter, because really what you guys should be doing is writing an open invitation letter that is calling out to your tribe. That's what we're doing, is we're building our tribes here. So yours is very easy. Like, life is hard and it sucks, you know, and I can relate to that. And it does sometimes. Like, I've been going through it. You know, my father-in-law's been in the hospital. Anything below 40% lung capacity is considered critical. He's at 7. You know, there is nothing as hard as watching someone that you love suffer and know that you're losing them and not want them to suffer but not want to lose them, you know? And we struggle. Yeah. And we struggle with that, and we struggle with broken hearts, and we struggle with bills and finances and screaming children who we love and we want to make to adulthood, but they just might not if they don't go away. And
I hear you. I so hear you.
Yeah, and you know, and so we see all these things, and so really, like, when we start talking about art, that's what it is. Because how many times have you seen photographers that photograph disasters, earthquakes, you know, tsunamis, starving children in Africa, and they take these powerful, emotive images of these terrible things in such a beautiful way that you cannot ignore it. You know, if you can find the beauty where everybody else sees destruction, if you can find what is glorious in what everyone else sees as darkness, if you can find what is enchanting in what everyone else sees as imperfect, here's your cohort.
Yeah, or even when people just pass by.
Yeah.
So often we pass by and don't even recognize. And for me, it's a point of a space to pause and reflect.
Yeah, so, you know, that almost gets into minimalism and almost like an artistic form of meditation.
Which I'm very, yes, yeah. Those fit my personality and the way I look at things.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, like, I think, like, my son, like, my daughter tries to meditate, and she does, like, the very traditional, like, Om. And my son does, like, this drum circle thing. Like, they'll sit together, and he's like, Om, Om. Like, he does, like, he's like on his own little pattern, but, like, you know, meditative can very much just be a place to lose yourself and find yourself in. And the nifty thing about that, and the thing that makes that so unique, is that if you're attracting people that create that kind of art where they lose themselves in it, then somebody else can find themselves and them in it. Every photograph you create becomes this self-portrait that tells everyone something important about you as the artist. It's something important about themselves as the viewer. And what do you want that to say? Because that message can be really, really powerful, you know? And it may be the kind of thing where, like, you know, it's my daughter and my husband are locked in this epic battle every spring because all she wants to do is blow wishies, and all he wants to do is not have a yard full of weeds. And it's the same thing. It's just the way they're looking at it. There's like a quote about it, like 1,000 wishes or 1,000 weeds. It's all perspective, you know. So if you can find the beauty in that, if you can find the beauty in the crack in the sidewalk with the weed growing through, and you can see nature overcoming amazing adversity where somebody else says, I need weed killer, you know, you change the way people think. Here's your cohort. Hi, Nicole.
Hello.
Nicole's one of mine too. Nicole, what's your cohort?
What's my cohort?
Yeah, what's your cohort? Why should I join yours instead of any of these other losers? There we go. Okay.
My cohort is the cohort of, I can't remember what title I gave it right now, but it's basically I want to surround myself with artists who want to combine different forms of art, and they just don't know how to combine it in photography.
Okay.
Because, I mean, there's photography, and then there's the people who are just artists, right? Like they don't just shoot photos; they create works of art, and a lot of that requires a lot of extra steps that they might not know what needs to be done in order to get from point A to point B. So, combining body paint with photography, in my case, or composites, so combining multiple photos together to create a final image, things like that. So it's that's really who I'm trying to pull in.
Okay. So are you gonna have people besides body painters and makeup artists? Like, can I be a clothing designer? Can I make amazing art props? It's for artists and creatives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically the best description would be anyone who wants to create their own cohesive photo from start to finish and be the one who does everything in between, not just
Okay.
not just bringing in a team and everyone does their own thing, but wants to do other parts of that photo.
Okay. So if you have artistic multiple personality disorder, this is your cohort. You know, but that's true. Like, I totally resonate with that. There's something about, and there's something wonderful about working with a team. I just had a team of 15 here for my latest shoot with all kinds of things, but I had my hands in the model's hair, and I added that little extra bit of mascara to Katie. And, you know, I was in the kitchen for an hour making the sandwiches and setting the cake platters, and you know, I can put my hands in all of that. I totally understand. Most of us are not photographers, we're artists. Photography is just the dialect we're currently speaking. And if you took away our cameras, we would pick up pens, we would pick up paintbrushes, we would pick up clay, we would pick up a stick and draw in the sand. We cannot not have a way to say what is within us. And so if you find yourself using all these different mediums in order to say what is within you and tell your stories, here's your cohort. Are you starting to see how all of these are very, very different messages, and how somebody's going to go, oh, no, 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 no. No, no, no. I don't like being outside. I don't like coyotes. I don't like cactuses. That is not my cohort. You know? And somebody else is going to be like, no, I want to have an entire team of people that I work with. I don't want to do anything but fire the shutter. That is not my cohort. Like, it's okay for people, don't like get caught up in the rejection either, because they're going to go, but this one here, that's my cohort, you know? And that's what we're looking for, is that that's their tribe. And really all that is like immediate family for the larger Arcanum family, because everybody ends up melding in together too and moving. Lisa, you're up. What's your cohort?
I just want well, I came to this late in life, you know, which doesn't mean necessarily that I want people that are old like me, but I want it to be a place where people who just really never thought of themselves as being quote unquote artists, to be able to come and find that in themselves. I want it to be very personal, one-on-one experience. You know, um, I know I want people to, you know, we're storytellers. We're all just storytellers, and I want people to be able to figure out how to tell their stories. And there'll probably be a lot of an emphasis on writing alongside of your photos as well.
Okay. Do you think that's enough to set it aside from everyone else?
At the moment, I'm not sure, but I'm still working through all those little details in my head, which is part of the struggle I've been going through the last week or so. But I'm working it out.
No, and I think it is. I think, you know, I think that all of you know. I think you all know what your thing is, and you know what you have to offer, and you know what's at the core. It's just finding the way to express it. And it's a lot harder because we're asking you to do that in words, and most of you are artists and have picked another medium. You know, that's why the photographs are worth 1,000 words. So it's okay to be minimal with it too when you're thinking about it. If you can't sit and vocalize that or articulate it properly, then say it with your images. What's my cohort about? It's about this, it's about this, it's about this.
Well, you know, it's
That'll
just
tell
one of
them.
those things where, you know, it's just like, you know, I used to think that, you know, if I was, because, you know, I want to do the landscapes, and my thing is totally just traveling to places, and they don't have to be far places, and taking photos and writing stories and but I used to think that, okay, this has got to be very documentary. I can't change anything on these photos. I can't turn it into something completely different, you know, without losing the place. And I've learned that that's not the case, and I want other people to be able to figure out how to bring out their art in that type of photography, because for the longest time I never thought that there was a creative bone in my entire body.
Okay. So if your inner creative has been so buried beneath everything else, and you were the one that handed the shovel to do the burying, and you're ready to dig it up, and if you're ready to get in touch not only with how things look, but how they feel, and to take what is there and create something that expresses what is within you, so that what is without is what is within, because we can't recognize anything outside of ourselves that isn't within. When we see grandeur at the Grand Canyon, it's because it's within us. When we see something intimate and we appreciate something minimal and small that most people overlook, it's because we have that ability to recognize greatness in small things. You know, everything that we see, good or bad, is within us. Everything. So there's nothing, you don't have to be a documentarian. You can absolutely go create these beautiful landscapes and use that as just the foundation and the base to build your artistry off of, to say what it is that you have to say that is within you, that was inspired by when you were there.
Exactly.
Here's your cohort. Yeah?
Yep.
How many people are redoing their Meet the Master videos now? You know, and you don't have to, like, your Meet the Master video should be about you, but I also think that it's a great idea for you guys to do a video where you just sit and talk like this, you know? I heard it and I saw it all over Randy's face and in his voice when he started talking about conservation. We hit that nerve. And that is going to strike a chord. The same way that, like, you can hear that note and it shatters glass and it gives you chills up your spine because it resonates with you on that level, that chord is going to resonate with everybody else that has that chord within them. Spiritually and emotionally and mentally, and spiritually, emotionally, and mentally is the basis that all art is built off of. That's how we connect with each other. So him sitting in front of a camera like this and going, this is what I do, and this is why it's important, and this is why it matters, and this is why I want you in my cohort so that we can combine together and do this, they're going to go, yeah, you're my person. Let's just be best friends forever now. I want to be in your cohort. Let's go save the whales. That sounds great. And then we'll go and we'll save the Grand Canyon. And then we'll go and we'll save all the little flowers that are growing in the concrete in New York. Like, you know, and so everybody resonates with each other and we start building this movement, and then the tide rises for everyone as a result of that. That's what we're looking for, because your cohorts will just feed off of the cohesive energy. It's amazing to see how fast it goes, you know, and you'll see this in your chats with you've probably seen it as apprentices. Somebody comes in and goes, guys, I'm so excited about this. Like right now, one of my apprentices, she posted a picture today. It didn't have anything to do with her photography or her talent. It was a picture of her sign with her name and studio behind it. It's on her door of her first studio, her life ambition. And that's all it is. And it's a simple sign, and it probably wasn't very expensive. It's not elaborate. It's not amazingly gorgeous, but that is her name on the door of that building. That is her studio. And everybody was amped off of it, like it was their name on the door, you know? And it just amped her up. And then, you know, it's that love. It's that, hey, I can do this. And I didn't do anything for her. She had the art herself. She just needed somebody to tell her she could do it. That's it. Most of what you're doing is giving people permission to be themselves. If you're not doing that, you're failing. I don't care what else you teach them. But if at the end of it, if they have all of these tools and all of these resources and all of this information to make them a better photographer, and they are lacking the courage to implement all of that and stand out from the crowd and make themselves a target, because that's what it is. It's fear. It's always fear that keeps people from what they want, and it's a waste of their imagination, because as soon as you stand up and go, here's everybody in this collective dark doing things they don't want to do and wasting their time, which is their most precious commodity and their greatest gift. And as soon as they stand up and are a light in that darkness, everybody else that's still too afraid to stand up points at them, and they become a target. And people are terrified of that. They're terrified of that. They're terrified of the judgment. They're terrified of the ridicule. They're terrified of the attack. But the other thing that it does is that you get this cohesive energy going where, because she did that, then Lars went and had the courage to go ask about, you know, having his images in a gallery, and he got a yes. And then Gretchen had her images in a gallery, and one of them got picked up by Google for this. And then Nicole quit her job and ran all the way across the country and was like, "Fuck this, I'm going to be a photographer. Nobody's going to tell me I'm not. I'm going to do all of it." And she dropped everything, and then everybody else was like, "Yeah, me too." And everybody's doing it because everybody's seeing that everybody can do it. And all of a sudden, that like results not typical thing that you see where you're like, somebody has the ability to do this, but it's not that. All of a sudden, the results not typical becomes the people that aren't succeeding well beyond and past what they thought they could do. All right, I'm done. I'm going to slide the soapbox over and off the screen here a little bit. Is there anything that you guys need? How are you guys feeling in the path of the protege? How are you feeling in your careers as apprentices? What do you need?
I'm feeling tired. Does that count?
Yeah.
Just because it's a lot of work.
That would be all of us, Pam.
Yeah. Other than that, it's great.
So that's another thing, and that's something that I hold to really hard. Like, you guys are going to feel the need, and Nicole was pretty early on in my cohort too. I picked her up from Miss Daniela's cohort, but that was pretty early. Like, I was in there pretty much all day, every day, because I wanted them to know I was there, especially because part of their concern was that they weren't getting any attention. Don't burn yourselves out. You know, it's perfectly fine for you guys to treat this like being a college professor or something else and having school hours. You know, the joy of the apprentice is that you can have them in every single time zone. They can log on whenever they want. They can do the assignments at their own pace. That's great. But it's okay for you to set like office hours and be like, I'm going to check in with my apprentices Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You know, or I'm going to check in for 1 hour every morning and an hour before bed. You know, I have some masters that will do, they'll do like a critique a day. They'll do 5 or 7 over the course of a week whenever somebody's ready. And other ones follow my lead, which is to have a critique day, and I just put up the hours and go, I've got this hour, this hour, this hour, this hour. And it's first come, first serve. Whoever books that hour books it. If not, you wait till next week. But like most of my weekends, I don't even check in with the Arcanum. It's Saturday and Sunday. It's a weekend. School's not in. I'm spending time with my children and my family and shoots. You know, last week I wasn't in at all for an entire week. I didn't even check in with you guys in the path of the protege because I was prepping for the shoot. Like, it's okay for you guys to safeguard your time. Okay? And I highly, highly recommend that life, parenting, you know, work, Arcanum, everything, that you pick 2 days a month. 2. That's it. There's only 12 months. That's 24 days out of 360 plus days. You can pick 24 of them. 2 days a month. Set everything aside and just reset. I don't care if you lounge on the couch and Netflix binge watch your favorite series, or if you go to the beach for a weekend, or if you pick up your camera and go take pictures of something that inspires you with no intention to sell or to clients or anything else, just because you need to remind yourself why you love it. Whatever it is, just 2 days. And you can keep them together or you can separate them apart, but take 2 days a month that are just for you, just to breathe and be you. I can't tell you how much it'll revitalize you in artistry. Is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on that we didn't get to?
I just want to say thanks. This was really helpful.
Good. Okay, so the next big question that's on everybody's tongue is the Vanguard meetings. I have some time later this week with Peter. Really, the issue that we're running into and that we're figuring out very quickly is that because you guys all have different advising and house masters, we're constantly dealing with different time zone issues with where everyone is. You know, if Trey sits in, we're in New Zealand. If Peter sits in, he's only 3 hours from me. I'm on Eastern Standard. Monica's in Spain. So we're trying to find time that it's not 4 a.m. for someone to be in on this Vanguard meeting, which is why it's very likely that what we're going to do is actually break it down. And so you would contact your housemaster, meet with them. They would give you the approval and send it to me. And then your advising master would send it to me. And then I would have the final say and send you up to one of the headmasters to onboard you. So it's looking like that's probably the way that it's going to go. Honestly, Bob is the only one that has passed his Vanguard so far that we've had to do the Vanguard meeting with. So we're just trying to find an efficient way to deal with that. So chances are that in the course of the next week, I will be introducing some kind of calendar program and a virtual assistant to schedule meetings. And it's also very likely that what I'll be doing is going and setting office hours essentially for the path of the protege. So it may be like every third weekend of the month or something like that is going to be Vanguard weekend, where you can pick up a slot, and if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you snooze, you lose, you wait till the next week or the next month. I'm also completely open to suggestions if you guys have brilliant ideas for how to overcome that obstacle, but it is something we're going to deal with. All right. I think I've talked your ears off long enough. You guys are starting to look tired. I'm pretty sure that I saw John snore for at least 37 seconds. This is good. I'm glad I got to spend some time with you guys, because there's so many of you that I don't get to do a lot of one-on-one like your advising masters are doing. So it's nice for me to get to know you. I have a much better idea of who you guys are and why you're essential, which makes it a lot easier for me to go to bat for you if anybody else says no. Because really, at the end of the day, I'm the Maven and they have to listen to me.
Outstanding.
So, you know, just keep on what you're doing. I'm looking for the answers that you guys gave today. All of you had really good ones. You know, finish the requirements, but know that those are the whats, and I'm more interested in the whys, and also know that I accept bribes in the form of cash and cookies.
We know that.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to drop me a line if you need something, and we'll do it again in a couple of weeks. Okay?
Thank
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.